Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Sure. My name is Kerim Kfuri. I'm the president of the Atlas Network. It's a global supply chain solutions company where we basically assist small to medium-sized businesses in cross-border procurement and overseas manufacturing, quality control, so forth. We've been doing this for almost 20 years, since 2005, and really look to help entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses make the right decisions and avoid expensive mistakes.
Awesome. So how did you get into the supply chain industry in the first place?
Well, really, I think like any entrepreneur, it always starts with the definition or looking at the problem that exists in an industry and then trying to figure out a creative solution around that. Previous to getting into the supply chain, I was a regulator for the Securities and Exchange Commission and NASD FINRA. And in those roles, I looked at a lot of elements of risk mitigation, control matrices, how to basically scope out problems and essentially look to solve them in a very didactic way. And I had family members that were overseas in manufacturing and had gone to China and seen, the capabilities and the opportunities that existed there, but realized what a fragmented industry it was because anything and everything could basically go wrong, from cultural differences to economic differences, political differences, currency, as well as just manufacturing related issues. Because, when you are on one side of the planet and you're looking to do manufacturing overseas and you don't have a presence on the ground overseas, you end up creating this Pandora's box of potential fraud. And that was pretty much what was happening in the early 2000s, late 1990s. And so my company and my entire premise around creating my company was to reduce those levels of fraud and issue. And we've done that for the past 20 years with the same formulaic model, which is kind of a three-part equation, which is to, one, pick the right suppliers, and that gets you a certain part of the way there. Two, have boots on the ground resources. So we have teams in our offices overseas. And three, to have a third-party attestation or third-party set of eyes to also kind of find everything that either the manufacturer didn't find or our teams didn't find, and look at things from a fresh perspective. So in this way, we've developed a nice protocol here that really assists our clients and customers with a very complicated, challenging area, which is, the supply chain space.
For sure. So can you give kind of like a use case of an example of one of your clients that's using you today and essentially like how they're using you and how they get value from working with you?
Sure. I'm not going to give any names just because
Sure.
confidentiality and so on. I'll talk in generalities.
Sure. Yeah.
We basically have about 450 spirits and beverage clients. And what we do for a significant amount of these is their dry goods. So we will do the bottles for them, the on-bottle decoration, the custom molding, the closures, the shippers, all of this for what has been a very explosive last, let's say, 10 to 15 years within the spirits market. You go into a liquor store otherwise, and you see all kinds of unique brands and bottles and shapes, and each one kind of telling a story, so that people then, go for the juice, which is inside. So this kind of craft boom really kind of took off in the last 10 to 15 years, and we've been a big part of that. So where we really have been able to generate a significant amount of value for these customers is being all in one and being very efficient. I say that because the way that many of these small to mid-sized businesses that we're getting going were starting is they would look into some glass catalog, pick a random glass bottle that 100 other brands had. Then they would then spend their time trying to figure out how to decorate it. Then they would have to go to a separate supplier to get a closure, and then they'd have to go to a separate place to get the shipper. And in the end of the day, these small to mid-sized new brands that were coming to market were spending all their time on product development and not on the most important thing, which was the development of the juice itself, and then the sales strategy to then go into a market and pioneer it and grow it and build it. So where a group like ours comes in and plays a very important role for these folks is, one, we allow them to have fully customized products that is only for their brand and no one else. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's all in one. Bottles being decorated, the custom closures, the shippers, they all come from us in a single container at one time. And this brings efficiency in terms of time and cost, so that when these goods get to the distillery, all they have to do is unload it, wash them, and fill them, and they're done. As opposed to getting the glass from here, decorating it over there, getting the shipper from here, and herding cats in this way. So one of the key things I think for our business, on whether we're doing things for the spirits and beverage industry or for electronics or commodities or textiles or innovation goods, has always been to connect the dots, be a strategic player, and also be able to bring efficiencies to the business, which translate to savings and cost. So that I think is an important role that we play here, that goes well beyond people just or businesses just buying things from us. That we serve this kind of strategic growth capability for their business to allow them to scale and develop. So yeah, hopefully that answered a little bit
Yeah, for sure. So I guess obviously now in 2024, things are changing a lot when it comes to scaling any business. So how have you gone about client acquisition, to actually grow your company nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. We are fortunate in the fact that we get a significant amount of our business through industry referral. We have designers, engineering firms that are consistently sending us clients because of the fact that they do part A and then they need part B done, right? Someone designs something great or designs engineers a product with CAD drawings and they need it produced. So we end up being a very good opportunity for that and being an industry referral. We also still go to a lot of trade shows, a lot of industry shows where we either have clients or customers that are there, or we walk the show and then understand the needs that certain customers may have for the kinds of services that we produce for them. We do some levels of online advertisement to a degree. And then the other side comes through strategic partnerships and relationships. A perfect example is that we are the first US-based verified supplier of Alibaba. And through that process, Alibaba sends us a significant amount of opportunities and business and leads through their platform of millions of customers, where we can basically be able to make those ideas into reality. So that's another good area. Those would be kind of the overarching places I would say that we get most of our business from.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, having a partnership with Alibaba is very impressive. So to get these kinds of partnerships or build these relationships, has it been going to these shows or cold email? Like, what has really worked for you in terms of these partnerships that you have with, these large companies?
I mean, the reality of it is that you have to do good work and you have to be honest in what you do. If you treat others the way you'd like to be treated, it really comes back to you in spades. And just philosophically, this world is more about the givers than the takers. And so in this way, I personally and my company is always looking to kind of, over deliver and under promise, if you want to say. In that way, we become a trusted resource. And once you become a trusted resource, you are well referred by others. You get into well-connected places. Clients become your biggest sales agents because they want to kind of sing your praises on the good job you've done for them. And then this then leads into more and more business opportunities and rubbing elbows with bigger companies that see what you're doing. And it doesn't happen overnight. I don't care, how we hear about in the news about this person who wakes up one day and has it all figured out, or things that come to market super, super fast. Real business doesn't happen in a flash of the pan type of way. It takes years and years to develop great relationships, strong opportunities, and really standing behind your customers and what you offer to those customers. And when you do that, you become, again, that trusted resources, and companies want to work with you.
For sure. So, in terms of your business specifically, because the example you gave me was, wine and bottling and beverages. So, is that really the, I guess, bread and butter of what you do, or are you also, because like obviously, like in Alibaba, you have many different types of e-com brands or working, whether it's furniture, anything else, right? So, are you focused on other e-commerce products or retail products, or is it really just only focused on beverage in wine? I guess really like understanding kind of what an ideal customer looks like for you.
Our focus is on outcome, and it's regardless of the product. So what we've built here at the Atlas Network is a network of almost 2,000 of the brightest and best suppliers in commodities and textiles and innovation. In commodities, glass, wood, metal, plastic, rubber, silicone, so on. In innovation products, machinery, robotics, AI, and textiles, fabrics, so forth. And in 20 years, we've basically done a significant amount across the board. Who is the ideal client? It's not product specific and it's not SKU specific. What it is it's needs specific. And the need is a customer who basically doesn't have the capital or resources to build an infrastructure to do global procurement. And that's where we step in and we help them. The product is a secondary part to that, because the suppliers that we work with, the factories we work with, are going to be the brightest and the best and do whatever that product is day in and day out for years and years and years. So even if it's a product that we've never even touched before, we're working with suppliers that are experts in those fields of those products. Our goal in the end, again, and to answer your question, is that the perfect client is the one that basically just can't move forward because they don't have the access, the capabilities, the resources to do so, and they need to outsource their supply chain development and management. And that's what we bring to these customers.
For sure. So in terms of like making sure that these suppliers are, keeping up with quality standards and compliance and all these things, do you have boots on the ground in these countries like China, or how do you make sure that they're constantly still meeting the standard that you have for them?
Right. So there's two sides to this equation. The first one is that we built a technology platform which is called Atlas Connect. It's our internal platform. And through this, we have a very rigorous process on how suppliers stay in the network or are removed from the network. And this is a mixture of our key metrics system, which is a mixture of quantitative and qualitative factors that we look at across all of our different suppliers. So in quantitative, it's going to be things like years in business, percentage of exports to particular countries, number of employees, things of that nature. Qualitative is going to be things such as professionalism, timeliness, accountability, things of that nature, because you want to have that in your proper partner. And that's not necessarily measured by, revenues and other kind of dollars and cents related aspects. So the first part is that we look to have only the brightest of the best suppliers. They have to have all their accreditations, all their international certifications have to be in place, their ISO standards, everything else within their particular categories, these quantitative and qualitative factors. And then beyond that, we have our factory managers who basically are in China, because that's where the majority of our network is. We have offices in China who manage that relationship and make sure that it's still going strong and that things are going well. And it isn't just looking good on black and white on paper, but in reality, we're actually having good outcomes from these top-notch suppliers. If we're not, regardless on how well ranked or rated they may be within our system and otherwise, they can't, survive within our ecosystem. So it is a mixture of those two things, as I said, sort of the management of the overall process and the supplier network, and then at the same time, the oversight side of it too.
For sure. So obviously working internationally also has other challenges when you have, like a huge time zone difference between China and the US. So how do you manage things like that, for example?
I mean, I think that through the years of doing this again, almost 2 decades, we've been able to figure out sort of the time management side of things where things happen in their night or in our daytime. We do have 2 days of the week where we basically do full weekly updates where we go through all of our projects and make sure that everything is sort of ticking in time the way it needs to be. And, technology has made the world small, whether it's by email or text or through our centralized our CRM platform where we're able to have a full book of record of every single project and interaction and kind of the capabilities all living in a cloud-based system. This allows it to be accessible by everybody in the team in whatever time zones they're in. So I think we figured out the balancing point between sort of the human interaction and then also the technological interaction. Outside of that, I think it's important to have face-to-face whenever you can do that. I will be traveling back to my offices in China in the beginning of April. I used to go every 3 months, so almost every quarter to go there. It's been a while since I've been there just because of pandemic and other things, but I do think that there is an important thing that can't be replaced with face to face. But where we can't have that luxury, it's technology, it's communications in any ways we can.
For sure. So obviously I'm wrapping up Q1 of 2024. So for the rest of 2024 to be successful for you, like, what are some of your big objectives for this year?
The big objectives for the year are to, one, continue to bring in new clients wherever we can through the methods that we talked about before. Two, be able to continually dialogue with our existing clientele base on their needs and making sure that they're fully aware of all the services that we can bring to them. And therefore, the best way to get more business is to start with the business you already have. And so that's what I mean, expansion of existing business and SKUs and development in that way. We've been building more and more features and capabilities on our website, which is theatlasnetwork.com. And then outside of that, me personally, I've been doing a lot more thought leadership, which is like what we're doing here today. A lot of podcasts, a lot of op-ed pieces, a lot of LinkedIn related work, conferences, and so forth that are bringing more attention to the company and to me as well. So, these are all the different sort of initiatives that we're looking for 2024. And so far, it's been going really great. I mean, January and February so far have outpaced January and February of 23. So that's great by a good amount. So it seems to be working. So that's a good thing.
Awesome, awesome. And so, what would you say is like some of the biggest advice that you wish you knew before you got started in this company?
Biggest advice I wish I knew before I got started in this company. Be patient would be very important. I think that when you kind of get started, you grab at a lot of straws and you basically start taking any kind of business that you can, even things that you probably shouldn't do, or when you're outside of your depth. And you end up wasting a lot of time doing that, rather than being a little bit more patient and focusing in on trying to get the right kind of business rather than just any kind of business. So I think that's an important thing. I think it's also really important to not work with friends and family. That's a key thing. I think when you start off with a business, you immediately say, oh, who can I trust? Well, it must be people that I know already. That's a big mistake because interpersonal relationships and business, it can work out sometimes, but more often than not, it can create a lot of tension and related issues. So I don't really suggest that. And the other part I would say is, which I've always done, but just keeping it in mind, is continually innovate, continually think about new ways to sort of like skin the cat, how to basically be able to develop new areas of business and opportunity. And so you don't get kind of stuck in a rut or potentially if environmental or business industry needs change, that you are not able to adapt or pivot accordingly. So if you're continuously innovating and looking at new areas where you can diversify and grow and build, then it doesn't matter if the originally chosen path isn't exactly working out the way you need it to, because you've got your hands in other things too. And then to that same point on the contra side is don't spread yourself too thin. when you try to do too much diversification, make sure you're doing it in a way that it's developing and growing the overall sort of goals of the business, as opposed to spreading yourself too thin and then you end up, not really advancing in the ways you need to.
Makes sense. So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
I would say that in 1 year's time, we would continue to be a leader in our space. We would continue to have more and more kind of referrals through industry, which we are doing very well with that, but even more so would be great. And that we're expanding our footprint into some more areas of technology, more specifically AI, machine learning, things of that nature, because there are a lot of pivots and changes that are happening globally with regards to some of the new technologies that have come online. In my arena, my realm, the ideation phase is being greatly accelerated through the use of AI, where previously you may have to rely on a designer or an engineer for 3 or 4 months to give you kind of prototype drawings and so on. This can be done in a matter of days or even a number of hours or minutes through some great softwares like Midjourney or different Adobe type of material, different Adobe products. And then it allows you to get to market quicker because you can develop fast, you can then prototype quickly, and then you can then get things into the space. So I would say that those would be, some of the areas I would like to focus in on for the next 12 months, really being able to bring in more and more tech, build up more of our industry referrals, and continue to kind of develop the business in general.
That's awesome. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess best ways to get in contact with you.
Absolutely. So our website is theatlasnetwork.com. So theatlasnetwork.com. We have a YouTube channel, which is the Atlas Network LLC YouTube channel. And then LinkedIn is always a great way to reach me, and where you'll see a ton of content where we're doing all kinds of really neat episodes. We have a series called Risk and Reward. We've got, these like quick tip videos that we put up, every couple of weeks, which are really great. And then we do a lot of, interviews and, as I said, sort of snippets from different conferences where I'm talking on different topics. But yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me as well. It would just be my name, Kerim Kfuri, Kerim Kfuri on LinkedIn. And yeah, that'd be the best way to reach out.
Awesome. Well, Kareem, thank you so much for your time today.
I really do appreciate a great show. And again, thank you so much as well.
Of course. Thank you. All right. Bye.